The sky was a furnace, a roaring wall of orange and red that swallowed the prairie whole. Embers danced like fireflies, and the air choked with smoke as the blaze tore through the dry grass, unstoppable. In the heart of it, a young woman named Clara knelt, her hands bound, her face streaked with soot and tears. They'd left her here, her own family, the townsfolk she'd trusted, abandoned to the flames, a sacrifice to save their precious land. Her screams had faded into the crackling inferno, and as the fire closed in, she'd whispered a vow: if she survived, they'd pay. Now, 5 years later, Clara was back, a ghost forged in fire, ready to claim what was hers. Clara had been 22 when it happened, a farmer's daughter in the small town of Willow Creek, Nebraska. The prairie fire of 2020 had come without warning, a beast born of drought and a lightning strike, devouring everything in its path. The townsfolk, desperate to protect their homes and cattle, had turned to superstition. Old Man Carver, the town's self-proclaimed prophet, pointed at Clara, accusing her of angering the heavens with her defiance, her refusal to marry his son, her sharp tongue, her dreams of leaving for a bigger life. "She's the curse," he'd bellowed, and the panic-stricken crowd believed him. Her father, weak and broken by debt, did nothing as they dragged her to the field, tied her to a stake, and left her to burn as a plea for mercy from the flames. But the fire spared her. A sudden shift in the wind, a ditch she'd rolled into, gasping for air. Clara survived, scarred and alone, while the town rebuilt without her. She'd fled that night, stumbling through the smoldering prairie, her skin blistered, her heart shattered. For months, she wandered, nursing her wounds in body and soul. A kind trucker found her collapsed by a highway, and a nurse in a distant town patched her up, asking no questions. Clara learned to live in the shadows, working odd jobs, waitressing in diners, cleaning barns, haunted by nightmares of fire and betrayal. The scars on her arms and back mirrored the deeper ones in her heart, the sting of her father's silence, the cruelty of neighbors she'd once called friends. But rage grew where despair had rooted. They'd taken her home, her family, her future, her land, the 50 acres her mother had left her in a will, stolen by Carver and the town council in the chaos after the fire. Clara vowed to reclaim it, to make them face what they'd done. 5 years passed, and Clara returned to Willow Creek in the spring of 2025, a woman transformed. Her once soft features were hardened, her brown eyes sharp as flint, her blonde hair cropped short under a worn hat. She'd spent years planning, saving every penny, learning the law, and tracking the town's dealings. The prairie had healed, green and rolling again, but the people hadn't changed. Carver, now mayor, strutted through town, his son Jed at his side, lording over the land they'd claimed, her land, now fenced off and grazed by their cattle. Her father, Tom, lived on the edge of town, a shell of a man, drowning in whiskey and guilt. Clara's first challenge was facing him. She knocked on his door one rainy night, her pulse pounding. Tom opened it, his eyes widening at the sight of her, his daughter, alive, a ghost from the fire. "Clara," he croaked, tears spilling. She wanted to hate him, to scream, but his trembling hands and broken apologies cracked her resolve. He confessed his shame, how he'd been too weak to stop them, too afraid of losing everything. Clara's heart warred, forgive or fight? She chose both, asking for his help to reclaim her land, a chance for him to right his wrong. The next challenge was the town itself. Whispers spread as Clara walked Main Street, her scars hidden under long sleeves but her presence undeniable. "She's back," they murmured, fear and guilt in their eyes. Carver laughed her off at the town hall meeting, clutching the deed to her 50 acres, forged in the aftermath of the fire. "You're dead to us, girl," he sneered, the crowd uneasy but silent. Clara faced them, her voice steady, recounting that night, the ropes, the flames, their betrayal. A few, like Mary the baker, looked away, ashamed. Others, loyal to Carver, shouted her down. The law was her battleground now. She'd hired a lawyer, a scrappy woman named Elise, with her savings, and they dug into records, proving the land was hers, exposing Carver's fraud. The challenge was steep, the town council stonewalled, witnesses lied, and Jed harassed her, slashing her tires one night, hissing, "Leave or burn again." Clara's fear flared, memories of fire choking her, but she pressed on, fueled by the promise she'd made in the flames. The legal fight dragged on, tense and grueling. Elise uncovered a key document, Clara's mother's will, buried in county files, naming Clara the rightful owner. But Carver's influence ran deep, and the judge, an old friend of his, delayed rulings. Clara faced another hurdle, winning the town's heart. She started small, helping Mary rebuild her oven after a storm, sharing coffee with old classmates, telling her story. Some, like young Tim, a ranch hand, rallied to her, moved by her survival, others shunned her, loyal to Carver's lies. The emotional toll was heavy. Nights alone in her rented room, Clara wept, doubting herself, the weight of betrayal crushing her. Her father, sobering up, stood by her, testifying to the council about that night, his voice shaking as he admitted his failure. It wasn't enough, yet. The turning point came when a new fire sparked, a small blaze on the prairie's edge. Clara, instincts sharp from survival, led a bucket brigade, saving Tim's barn. The town saw her strength, her scars glinting in the firelight, and doubt in Carver grew. The final challenge was the courtroom. On a crisp May morning in 2025, Clara faced Carver, the deed on trial. Elise presented the will, witnesses, Mary, Tim, even her father, spoke of the fire, the fraud. Carver raged, calling her a liar, but the judge, swayed by evidence and the town's shifting mood, ruled for Clara. The land was hers. Carver's power crumbled, his lies exposed, and the town, chastened, began to heal. Clara walked her 50 acres that evening, the prairie stretching wide, the wind whispering through the grass. Her father joined her, tentative, and they planted a marker, her mother's name, a new beginning. The scars remained, physical and emotional, but Clara felt whole. She'd faced fire, fear, and betrayal, and Clara's return wasn't just for land, it was for justice, for herself. She rebuilt, starting a small farm, teaching the town's children resilience, showing them how to rise from ashes. Her message rang clear: no flame, no betrayal, can burn away your worth. You fight, you heal, you claim what's yours. As the sun set over the prairie, Clara stood tall, a survivor, her heart alight with hope, inspiring all who doubted her to believe in redemption. This story, paced for a 30-minute YouTube video, hooks with the fiery betrayal, builds through Clara's emotional struggles and legal battles, and resolves with her triumph, leaving American viewers inspired by her strength and the power of standing up, no matter the odds.